Hello everyone, my name is Shaked and I'm on the product marketing team here at Wiz. And today I'm going to talk to you about securing AI development with AI-SPM. So let's get started. So obviously AI has taken over the cloud, and most organizations by now are either experimenting with AI or developing with AI or running AI in production. And a research team found that over 70% of cloud environments have some kind of AI managed service in them. So that doesn't even include the AI technologies or SDKs that organizations might be running. So AI is really everywhere, and it is here to stay. So it's important for organizations to make sure that they're able to secure AI as they adopt more and more new services or new technologies into their environment. So organizations might be at different phases of their AI journey. So whether you're just now starting to experiment with AI and you're using different types of AI tools, so you have sporadic use of AI tools and technologies, you might be running into different challenges like shadow AI, where your AI researchers are now going and deploying new types of AI services or technologies. And as a security team, you don't have visibility into what those technologies are there. Therefore, it's pretty hard to secure something you don't know is in your environment. And in this type of phase, you might have small POC projects with unvalidated tools or even unimproved tools by your security team. Some organizations are more in a phase of active development where they have dedicated teams and projects that are working on developing with AI. There, they might face partial visibility into what AI services and technologies are running in the environment, and they might have limited but dedicated AI deployments in their cloud. And last but not least, there are the organizations that are now running AI in production, and they have dedicated, or they might have dedicated AI security. So, of course, until recently, there weren't AI security tools out there because AI is so new to cloud environments and to organizations. So many organizations haven't adopted yet the tools in place to secure AI deployment, but those that are running in production might have some types of guardrails in place in order to secure their AI deployment. And those that are running production should have visibility into cost and the tools that are running in their environment, and they could have large AI deployments in their cloud. But really, regardless to where you are on this AI journey, there are some types of challenges that organizations face when it comes to introducing AI into the environment in terms of security. So let's go over those types of challenges. So AI does add a new layer of complexity to security, and let's talk about why. So first of all, now we have new types of technologies. So your developers, your AI researchers, and data scientists might be experimenting with new services that are getting introduced by the different clouds. So let's say when AWS introduced Bedrock, I'm sure a lot of organizations and teams were excited about it and wanted to go ahead and experiment with it right away. Similarly, there's different types of technologies and SDKs that are constantly getting introduced, and many organizations and many teams want to start experimenting with those. So without having proper visibility into everything that is running into my environment, how can I effectively secure it? So this is kind of the first challenge there, what we call shadow AI, where different teams in the organizations might be experimenting with a specific AI tool and the security team doesn't know about this. And this is something that we at Wiz have run with many customers when they connect with their environment, and the security team can swear they're not using any AI in the environment, and then quickly all the different AI tools and services pop up in inventory, and then they realize that they didn't even know those tools are there. And the second challenge there is that with AI adoption into your cloud environment, new risks do come up. And why is that? Like any new type of service that you're now introducing into the environment, it does increase the attack surface. So in the case of AI, now we have AI-specific risks that are introduced into the environment. So what are those types of risks? We'll talk about them later. But for example, we have model poisoning, training data exposures, model vulnerabilities, malicious models, and so on. So how do we make sure that as a security organizations, we can protect against these new types of AI risks? Well, we might not be AI experts, right? Like we might not be super familiar with what those types of risks are, how do they look within our cloud environment, but now we need to secure them in order to reduce the attack surface and make sure that we're not decreasing our security posture by introducing AI into the environment. And last but not least, with AI adoption and development come new types of skills. So again, security teams are not AI experts, but now they need to make sure that they can secure the AI deployment in their cloud. And at the same time, we have our AI data scientists, engineers that are experimenting with AI, but they are not security experts. So how do we make sure that they are securing those types of tools and technologies that they're using in the cloud, and they're adopting AI securely into our environment? So of course, AI is here to stay and adoption is only going to grow from here. So how do we make sure that security doesn't slow down the AI innovation? So let's start off by taking a look at a kind of a classic type of AI pipeline. So here we can see we have a GCP Vertex AI model that's being trained on a specific data set that's stored in a bucket. We can see that bucket, for example, is exposed. We can see the model that results from that training job, and we can see the model is also exposed to the internet. So this is kind of a classic AI pipeline that we're seeing in a cloud. So in order to secure AI pipelines, we can see that while we have new types of risks that are AI specific, we're running into the same problem when it comes to understanding attack paths in the cloud. So if we were to detect this type of attack path where we have a public storage bucket that has training data being used to train a model, therefore people could read from that data or even write to it and poison the model, what would we need to understand? So first, and of course, we would need to understand the AI context. So are there any specific risks that are unique to AI that exist within my pipeline? Is my model exposed? Is there sensitive data that the model is being trained on? Are there any vulnerabilities in my model supply chain risks? Are there any runtime alerts in my models? But not only we need to understand the AI risk, but we also need to understand what is the workload context. Are there any exposed secrets, for example? What is the cloud context? So are there misconfigurations around my different resources that I'm using, the different AI services? What does the networking look like? What are identities? Who can access what? And we also would want to understand the business context. So what is the data sensitivity? Which environment is this in? What is the business team that owns this specific pipeline? And risk. So essentially here we would need to understand all these contexts in order to understand what are the attack paths that exist in AI pipelines. So with this in mind, at Wiz, we realized that AI adoption now is very similar to where the cloud was 10 to 15 years ago. So back then, everyone was starting to use the cloud, but most organizations didn't know how to secure it. They wanted to start leveraging all the benefits of the cloud, but they weren't prepared in terms of security. So AI is kind of similar today where everyone wants to be kind of ahead of that AI journey and accelerate adoption, start experimenting with new services. But most organizations either don't know how to secure AI or don't have the tools in place to secure AI. So what we realize is that if we take all the learnings that we learned from securing cloud environments and we apply them to AI, we can help organizations understand what is their AI security posture in the cloud and effectively reduce attack surface. So what did we learn from securing cloud environments? We learned that first of all, visibility is the foundation. So without knowing what is in my environment, I can't secure it. So I need to have full visibility into everything that's running in my cloud, as well as every single AI service and technology that's running in my environment. Next up, I need to be able to continuously detect risk so I can proactively remove risk. So in the case of AI, we want to be able to continuously detect different types of AI misconfigurations, vulnerabilities, any identity risks related to AI, malicious models, unintentional exposures, and so on. So first visibility, then I want to understand the risk, but then in order to not kind of drown in the sea of different alerts and misconfigurations and vulnerabilities, I want to be able to prioritize the specific AI risks that can actually put my environment at a critical risk. So what do I mean by that? I want to understand kind of in the previous slide when we looked at the attack path, I want to understand all the context around my AI pipeline so I can understand where are there attack paths that could lead to, for example, sensitive data or that could expose my model and could put me at a critical risk. And to do that, I need to understand the context around my entire cloud and workload and AI environment. And last but not least, we learned that we want to be able to proactively remove risk, but we also need to be able to have kind of that last line of defense by detecting any threats that are ongoing within my cloud and within my AI pipelines. So with all these learnings in mind, I want to introduce AI-SPM, and maybe some or most of you have heard of this by now, but it's AI Security Posture Management. So like we had CSPM back then when the cloud was introduced, now we have AI-SPM helping organizations secure their AI deployment so they can really accelerate innovation, knowing that they're not introducing new types of risks and exposing their environment to critical risk. So we'll talk in the next few slides about what is AI-SPM and what are the key capabilities. But let's quickly talk about kind of secure AI framework. So what is our goal with AI-SPM? We want to be able to secure everything in our AI pipeline. So from infrastructure to the model that's running, to the data that it's being trained on, and the application. So what do I mean by that? So if we take a look at the infrastructure, we want to be able to secure all the AI platforms that are running my AI models. So those services, we want to understand and secure the network, the identities information, encryption, and so on, and the infrastructure that's essentially running my models. But then I also want to secure the model itself. So I want to be able to detect any malicious models running in my environment. Want to be able to understand, are my models exposed? Are there any guardrails in place to secure input and output? Are there any vulnerabilities or supply chain risks within my models? Then I also want to secure my data. So I need to understand what are the data sources, are they secure, are there any sensitive data that's my model is being trained on, what does my data pipelines look like, am I at risk of data poisoning? So that's the data layer. And last but not least, secure the application. So what are my AI and model SBOMs? So what are those types of technologies and SDKs that are running in my environment? I want to understand if there's any vulnerabilities in my applications and secure against DOS and other risks. So those are kind of the different types of AI components that I want to make sure that I'm securing. And this is how AI-SPM can help you secure these. So if we were to take a look at the key use cases that AI-SPM needs to support, we'll break it down to kind of these four. So first of all, we want to make sure that with AI-SPM, we have consistent visibility into my AI pipelines, models, and technologies that are running in my environment so I can effectively secure them. Then I want to be able to detect those risks in my AI pipeline, so those AI-specific risks. So for example, the OWASP top 10 risks, I want to be able to understand where those exist in my environment. And then I want to be able to prioritize those risks with the greater context around my cloud and workload. And last but not least, I need to be able to empower my AI engineers and developers with easy to understand UI and prioritization so they can own the security for whatever they're running in their environment. So let's take a look at breaking these down. So what does having visibility mean? So we kind of coined the term AI bomb. And what do we mean by that? AI bill of material. So I need to have visibility into every single AI service technology model that's running in my environment. So with our AI-SPM capabilities, we enable our customers to detect really every AI technology within the Wiz inventory. So in the inventory, you could see any technology, SDK, managed service, and model and hosted model that is running in your environment. And this really enables organizations to remove shadow AI. So now security teams don't need to rely on the AI teams to tell them, hey, I want to experiment, or I'm experimenting with this type of AI service. But as soon as that service gets introduced into the environment, the security team gains that visibility within that inventory, and they can then go and mark that specific technology as approved or unapproved and so on. And also, I want to have the end-to-end pipeline visibility. So looking at the AI models, the training data, the workload information, the cloud context. And with Wiz, we provide all of that on the Wiz security graph, which we will see in the next few slides. So that's first for visibility. So next up, I want to make sure that I'm following security best practices when I'm using the specific cloud provider's AI managed services. So an AI-SPM solution should provide built-in misconfiguration rules that help you make sure that you're following security best practices. So some examples of these are for Bedrock, for example, to make sure that a Bedrock custom model is encrypted with customer managed key. Or, for example, for cognitive search to make sure that public network access is enabled. So we can think of these kind of as CSPM checks that are specific to AI services. And I want to make sure that I have the most up-to-date types of rules for any new services that I'm adding to my environment. I want to make sure that I have those types of rules checking to make sure that it's following security best practices. So while I need to be able to detect those misconfigurations, in order to effectively protect my cloud against that increased attack surface, I want to be able to understand what are my attack paths in my AI pipelines. And this I will repeat over and over again. The key to detecting those attack paths is having that full context into the AI, the workload, the cloud environment, and the business context. So an AI-SPM should do attack path analysis for AI pipelines, and it should look at all that context. So understand things like AI vulnerabilities, misconfigurations, permissions, identities, data sensitivity, exposed secrets, network exposures, malicious models. And it should correlate all that information in order to detect those attack paths. So for example, here on the right, this is the Wiz security graph. And here you can see an example of an attack path where we have a publicly exposed virtual machine that has a critical network vulnerability. And we can also see that it can access a bucket that is used for AI training. So someone could reach through that machine to the bucket and reach the data that my model is now trained on. So they can poison that data and alter it, and then it will hurt my model integrity. So this is a critical attack path that in order to detect it, I need to understand the context around that machine, the network, the vulnerabilities, the identities, and so on. It's important that for the AI-SPM solution to provide visibility into what type of data is my model trained on. So I want to understand if someone is accidentally exposing sensitive data to my model that should not be exposed and should not be trained on, I want to have that visibility. So this is kind of where data security posture management capabilities come in. So as part of AI-SPM, I want to have the SPM capabilities that take a look specifically at the data that is used for training AI models to help me secure it, so I can understand what is the criticality of it, who can access that sensitive data, and so on, so I can proactively secure it. And now with all this context, then I can really prioritize one AI vulnerability or misconfiguration over another. So again, I can reduce alert fatigue of what I would get if I were to look at misconfigurations or vulnerabilities and so on. And I could truly focus on critical attack paths that can put my environment at critical risk. Kind of the last part of the AI-SPM is again, I want to have that last line of defense to detect threats in real time. So let's say I was able to proactively remove all those critical risks from my environment. I might not be 100% protected, and I want to make sure that if something does happen in my environment or my AI environment, I can quickly detect and respond to it. So an AI-SPM solution should provide real-time threat detection rules that check for any suspicious activity in my environment. So for example, I want to be able to detect when there is a malicious model that's now in my environment, or for example, detect any common LLM attack techniques that are out there to protect against them and respond very quickly. And then I want to take all the context that I have from the attack path analysis and about my cloud and be able to correlate it back to the threats, so I can understand, okay, I detected a suspicious activity here, and this is the cloud context around it. So if there is an attacker here, I can see that the attacker can move laterally in my cloud and reach this other area in my cloud or reach my sensitive data and so on. So this is kind of that last line of defense. I want to detect those misuse in my AI pipeline. So quickly, I'll recap how Wiz approaches this. So we have our AI-SPM capabilities that are fully integrated within a greater CNAPP platform. And to break it down, essentially what Wiz does is that we scan your cloud environment, we scan your OpenAI environment, without any agents. So we use the cloud provider's APIs to connect to your cloud. And then we scan the cloud layer, the workload layer, the data in order to help you protect your AI pipeline. So when it comes to kind of Wiz Cloud, what we do is that we provide you with that AI inventory and misconfigurations to help you detect any deviations from security best practices. We help you detect malicious models and sensitive data in your environment and any vulnerabilities in AI software. So that's all within kind of that Wiz Cloud. But we also want to help you shift left to prevent risks from ever reaching your cloud. So with Wiz Code, you can scan your CI/CD pipelines and IC templates. You can also scan your repositories or IDE to find any sensitive data that's being used there for AI training. You can find model vulnerabilities early on and make sure that they never reach your cloud. And then on the last line of defense, we have Wiz Defend, where we do the AI threat detection to help you find any of those types of common attack techniques that might happen or be identified in your cloud, or any suspicious activity. Within our attack path analysis, we correlate all the information that we have around your cloud and workload environment on the Wiz security graph. And this is essentially what our AI-SPM capabilities are, and they enable you to democratize security and provide the different teams and even AI teams that might not be security experts with a very accurate list of risks with a view on the Wiz security graph. So it's very easy for them to understand, first of all, what is the risk, why it's critical, and what do they need to do, how do they respond to it. They don't need to be a security expert to do it. They can do it very easily with the prioritization and the graph view. So just to wrap it up, essentially what we keep on hearing from customers is that by having AI-SPM there from the beginning, it really helped them accelerate the pace of AI application development and deployment, because they know that now the different AI teams are experimenting or running different AI technologies, and the security team knows that it has full visibility into the usage and any risks in the environment, helping them make sure that their security posture remains good while they're adopting these new types of AI services. And with that, I will wrap it up. If you would like to learn more about Wiz AI-SPM, feel free to check out our webpage for Wiz AI-SPM, or follow us on LinkedIn to see any new updates that come up related to our AI security posture capabilities. So thank you all so much for joining us today.